Hello everyone, my name is Lucas. I'm a Brazilian lawyer and I'm going to explain to you all 7 constitutions that we had in Brazil. 1 during the empire, 2 under military regime, and 4 during democratic periods. So let's get started. Brazil achieved his release from Portugal in 1822 when its emperor, Dom Pedro I, proclaimed its independence. Once it became its own nation, the emperor granted our first constitution in the year of 1824. This constitution established basically the monarchy ruling the country, immortalized by hereditary. The country was an absolute unit with no subdivisions in states. The official religion was the Catholic, and the powers were divided among the executive, legislative, judicial, and a moderated power from the emperor. At this time, only the rich could vote, and this constitution has lasted for 65 years when the royal family was expelled from Brazil and it started the democratic period. In 1891, inspired by the North America Constitution, was enacted the Second Federal Constitution. The country's name has been changed from Empire of Brazil to United States of Brazil. Now, the country has subdivided into states, each having great autonomy. All positions were elected and respected a mandate with preset time, and was instituted the secular state. At this time, it remained only 3 powers, judicial, executive and legislative, without the moderating power. Because of the obligation of open vote, the riots in elections have become common, and it was clear that the Brazilians were not yet accustomed to democracy. So, in 1934, it was promulgated the new federal constitution. There are few changes, now housing the female vote, strengthening the powers of the federal union, but for the first time creating social rights. The state realized that it should not only establish individual rights, but also regulate rights to health, education and security. But democracy was over in 1937 under a harsh military coup. So, a new constitution is enforced. Nicknamed the Polish Constitution by virtue of its strong inspiration in Polish constitution at the time. The constitution now provides almost all power centralized in the federal union and a large reduction of the fundamental rights. But at the end of the Second World War, with the victory of the Allied forces, a great movement for democracy was spreading across all over the Americas. And in 1946, Brazil returned to a democratic rule and has its 5th constitution, which was very similar to the 1934, except for the change in the capital, going from Rio de Janeiro to the brand new Brasília. In 1964, Brazil returns to a military political regime, which has removed the democracy from the Brazilian people once again. With that, also a new constitution arrived, one that will be marked by the bloodiest of all already in place. The powers again centered in the Union, and once again a great reduction of the fundamental guarantees. Not only that, but the military courts began to try civilians as journalists and those who protested against the regime. In this document, the country's name was changed again, moving to Federative Republic of Brazil, the official name until now. Finally, democracy returned after 21 years, in 1985, after a strong popular pressure ending the second dictatorship in Brazil. So, willing to create a new constitution, the federal government convened a constituent assembly for the purpose of promulgating the new constitution, which would receive at the end the name of Citizens' Constitution, in reference to the great popular participation. This last federal constitution of 1988 now has a much broader concept than just guarantees and fundamental rights. It ended up being a mirror where each and every Brazilian could see itself among one or other of its 250 articles. For the first time, the poor people, the black people, indigenous people, human, and people of different religions were represented. Another change was the right of vote for all over the age 16, including illiterate. There are 250 articles in all, which are divided into 9 titles. In the first article of the first title, the Federal Constitution established the democratic state, established that all power emanates from the people, who exercise it through elected representatives or directly under this Constitution. The Constitution establishes the divisions of powers, independent and harmonious among themselves, like Montesquieu made it. The Article 5, one of the most important articles of the Constitution, about rights and guarantees, is in the second title. It features 78 sections about individual and collective rights and guarantees, becoming the main break after a long history of curtailing rights. The second title also contains provisions on social rights, nationality, political rights, and political parties. The conclusion is trying to satisfy the wishes of all Brazilians. The Constituent Assembly has generated a document that is sometimes confusing and even incoherent. It has the body of a parliamentary regime, but the head of the presidential regime. The powers were concentrated into the hands of the executive, and there is a large opening for changes and amendments of laws by the judiciary without the scrutiny of the legislative. Still, despite all its fault, the current federal constitution is, among all others, the one that best reflects the image and likeness of the Brazilian people. So, I hope it helped you, and I'm free to explain any doubts you have. Thank you.